Papoose just dropped a bomb, calling Remy Ma nothing more than a chapter from his past, while she's still legally his wife. The audacity alone is enough to send shockwaves. And as if that wasn't explosive enough, he's dodging every clear question about Claressa Shields, leaving the world guessing. This storm isn't slowing down. It's accelerating. We have to unpack what's happening with Papoose, Claressa Shields, and Remy Ma, because what started as whispers has erupted into full-blown chaos. But the fire doesn't stop there. 50 Cent and VTV are now tangled in the web, drawn in as if by magnetic force, and somehow every move connects back to the others. I told you this interview with Papoose and VTV was coming, and now it's here, unraveling like a ticking bomb. The spark? Papoose snapped after VTV tweeted that he might be hesitant to cut things off with Claressa Shields, and it clearly hit a nerve deep inside. Then, Maserati Bud and 50 Cent jumped in, igniting the fuse and blowing the lid off the whole situation. From that moment, everything spiraled into madness. Conflicting stories, tangled timelines, people saying one thing only to flip seconds later. Chaos everywhere. And get this, they only released a tiny preview clip, yet it already racked up over 53,000 views by the time of recording. That's how fast the storm is spreading. But here's where it gets eerie. Even in this short snippet, there's a glaring issue that refuses to be ignored. Something here doesn't add up. Let's break it down. The video description claims 50 Cent shared a controversial meme targeting Papoose's wife, boxing sensation Claressa Shields, and viewers immediately read it as a direct hit on their relationship. But wait. Since when did Papoose and Claressa Shields suddenly become husband and wife? That alone shatters logic, especially with Remy Ma still holding the legal title of wife. Right here, right now, things are spiraling out of control. This isn't just Papoose's words anymore, it's a wildfire of confusion being served as fact. It reeks of recklessness, like someone carelessly tossed that label into the narrative without a second thought. Was it VTV? Someone lurking behind the scenes? A social media strategist hungry for drama? Whoever it was, calling Claressa Shields his wife at this moment is audacious, borderline unbelievable. You can't just crown a new marriage when the old one still legally exists. That's not how this works. And yet, here we are, watching the chaos unfold, impossible to look away from. Now that the smoke of confusion is thick in the air, it's time to dig deeper, because the real fire ignited with 50 Cent, and that's where the heat turns unbearable. Claressa Shields sat down on the Breakfast Club with Angela Yee, and she didn't hold back. She marked the start of this chaos, January 1st, 2026. Every word she said was deliberate, like staking a claim on a timeline that brooked no argument. But then we hear Papoose's version, and suddenly the puzzle doesn't fit. The comment he keeps waving around isn't fresh, it's ancient history. It harks all the way back to July 2018, when 50 Cent threw a compliment at Remy Ma about her weight loss. "Damn, Remy, you lost mad weight. Hey, Slim, that got you out of your body." That same line is now being dragged into the spotlight, twisted into today's drama. When Papoose tries to spin it as a recent spark, it collapses under scrutiny. The timeline is shattered, and that changes everything. Then he fires back, fumbling words, "I don't know what you're talking about. You waited 2 or 3 times. No. Suddenly, conflicting narratives clash, timelines tangle, and tension spikes like electricity in the room. Of course, Remy Ma responded immediately. Personal, raw, protective. That reaction wasn't random. That was fire, fueled by betrayal and truth. And yet, a disturbing shift appears. Papoose and Claressa Shields are now staring at the scoreboard. Followers, views, trending stats, viral potential. It's no longer just about feelings or truth. It's about who dominates the spotlight, who controls the narrative, and who turns chaos into clout. It's as if chasing numbers has eclipsed everything else. That obsession with views, clicks, and trending headlines has become the driving force. And that's what makes it so jarring, because this isn't the Papoose the world knew back when he fully embodied the husband role with Remy Ma. Back then, it wasn't about viral moments or dominating the internet every single day. Now, everything is laser-focused on attention, headlines, and keeping his name burning in the spotlight. And the timing of this shift, right as Claressa Shields enters the picture, is almost too convenient. It can't be ignored because it sparks questions that cut deep. What changed in him? When did the stakes become fame over family? And just how calculated is this move behind the scenes?
Here's a detail that can't be ignored. If that video had only featured Claressa Shields, Papoose might have stayed silent, letting it slide. But the second his own face appeared on screen, he stepped in, and that reaction speaks volumes. Watch closely. The moment it became personal, it became urgent. Then it gets even more revealing. While DJ Vlad lays out the backstory of that edited clip showing both their faces, Papoose sits there laughing. That energy doesn't belong to someone who's truly upset. It adds a new, almost sinister layer to the unfolding drama. And here's the twist. You're hearing him call it funny, but didn't he first label it disrespectful? Which is it? You can't straddle both sides. The laughter doesn't come off as harmless. It feels like he's quietly admitting some truth. That moment became his ticket into the spotlight, a way to ride the wave of attention right alongside 50 Cent. But the second 50 Cent applied his usual pressure, keeping the intensity high, Papoose retreated. Silence, distance, letting the storm settle, an unmistakable tactical withdrawal. And while he pulled back, he was telling Claressa Shields to stay out of it, trying to shield her from the chaos. But she wasn't having it. She moves on her own terms, and once she locks in, there's no stopping her. She's all in. No pause, no hesitation. Claressa Shields dives headfirst into the back and forth, and just like that, it becomes her versus 50 Cent, while Papoose fades into the background. And that's exactly why this sudden switch up in the story feels off. Because what the world actually saw doesn't line up with the narrative being shoved forward. And then there's the bombshell. Calling Remy Ma, your current wife, a past relationship. That isn't casual talk. That's pure disrespect, loud and undeniable. There's no spin, no explanation, especially with unanswered questions hanging over the whole situation. What false story did Remy Ma even put out? From the evidence shown, she came armed with receipts, claims of pawn jewelry, pointed truths that only poured gasoline on an already blazing mess. Everything Remy Ma ever said about how she was treated is now reflected in what's playing out with Claressa Shields. Every single detail. That alignment is what makes it hit harder. For months, Remy Ma was dragged online, labeled bitter, jealous, insecure over a younger woman, slapped with every accusation imaginable. Yet now, revisiting her words, especially that moment in the black and red flannel where she spoke her truth boldly, it becomes clear. She was telling the truth all along. And suddenly, all the criticism, all the mockery, all the hate aimed at her looks shockingly misguided. But let's pause on this. Calling Remy Ma a past relationship while she's still legally your wife? That's not just disrespectful, that's chaos in human form. That's next level messy. If she's really in the past, then what's stopping you from signing the papers and making it official? Why talk like it's already done when it clearly isn't? That question alone lingers, heavy and unavoidable, forcing everyone to wonder what's really happening behind the curtain. And imagine for a second, what is Remy Ma thinking as she hears this? That kind of statement isn't bold, it's audacious, shocking, almost impossible to justify. Here's another angle. Papoose, you didn't even have to respond to 50 Cent. You had total control. And here's the kicker. That aggressive energy toward 50 Cent, it's new. There was a time when you even sided with him during the whole situation with Fat Joe, who's closely connected to Remy Ma. Back then, his moves didn't bother you. His words didn't faze you. But now,
the tone has flipped completely, and suddenly you're on the opposite side, acting like all that history never existed. And the irony, 50 Cent wasn't even going all out at first. In January, he held back, measured, calm, even though he already had all the intel on Claressa Shields and Maserati Bud. He could have detonated the drama immediately, but he chose restraint. And yet it looks like Papoose saw the storm I was stirring with 50 Cent, the way attention and tea exploded online, and thought, I can ride that same wave. Add to that the chaos of his kids' diss tracks, and suddenly it looks like Papoose thought he could ride that same wave, catch the buzz, the hype, the viral storm that had everyone talking. But instead, the plan backfired. Nothing soared. The storm didn't elevate him, it swallowed him, making everything messier, more unpredictable, and impossible to control. And then there's the repeated narrative, the claim that every bit of criticism comes from paid bots, fake accounts, or AI-generated comments. It's pushed hard, but the logic doesn't hold. Let's be honest, 50 Cent doesn't need anyone to fight his battles online. Tens of millions of followers already hang on his every move. Attention isn't manufactured, it's automatic. So why pretend he needs extra help stirring the pot? It's glaringly clear. If the reaction isn't glowing, suddenly it's fake, controlled, or manipulated. But when the same audience shows love, hype, and support for Papoose and Claressa Shields, no one cries bots. That's the inconsistency everyone notices. The energy shifts depending on whether the feedback flatters or criticizes, and the world sees it. And now, here's the question burning under the surface. Why is Papoose laughing? And here's the detail that hits like a punch. Papoose is sitting there laughing at older photos of Claressa Shields. At first glance, it might seem harmless, but when you really think about it, it lands differently. It aligns far too neatly with what Remy Ma claimed, that he was whispering behind the scenes, dismissing Claressa Shields' looks. If that's true, these laughs aren't innocent. They're a subtle nod, almost a quiet confirmation of what was already being said. Then consider the focus on those old photos. It's not just amusement, it's a shade, a sly dig, a way of saying, this isn't really you now, downplaying her appearance with a calculated slickness. That energy isn't lost on anyone paying attention. And now, everything begins to snap into place. The comparisons are uncanny. The Remy Ma starter pack, the daily styling, the full glam. This isn't random, it's intentional. Every detail stands out. Jewelry piled high, fashion statements loud and clear, sky-high heels, fur ensembles, oversized shades, luxury bracelets, bold chains. Every piece screams Remy Ma. Now the story takes an even darker turn. It's no longer just about Claressa Shields possibly echoing Remy Ma's style. It's starting to feel like Papoose is actively recreating that same image through someone else. And that's where the complexity deepens. People notice the visual similarities, sure, but the nuances are undeniable. The presence, the energy, the way it lands publicly. There's a gap, and the audience sees it. Then there's a line that hits hard. Papoose admits in the clip that Claressa Shields goes viral for completely different reasons. That single sentence speaks volumes. He's fully aware of the headlines, the chaos, the storms swirling around her name, and he chooses to remain in the eye of it all. But here's the kicker. Watch him during the interview. He's laughing at what 50 Cent said about Claressa Shields. Not tense, not angry, not defensive. Just laughing, treating it all like a show. That energy, it doesn't belong to someone genuinely upset. It's calculated, performative, almost chilling in how detached it feels. It starts to feel like Papoose saw an opening, an opportunity, a moment to step into the spotlight while subtly convincing everyone that 50 Cent went too far, crossed the line. And that's exactly where the contradiction burns through. You can't be laughing behind the scenes and then swing to outrage in public. It just doesn't land. And watch closely. Claressa Shields clearly picked up on that energy. From the outside, it looked like she realized he wasn't stepping up for her, not defending her fully when it mattered most. That's why she jumped in, headfirst, confronting 50 Cent directly, first in January and then again in March. Her actions make perfect sense if you see them as filling a void he left. But here's the unnerving part. The way Papoose moves, it almost seems like he's enjoying the chaos. He's not truly going after 50 Cent. The fire just isn't there. And then there's that odd line about attacking successful Black and Latino artists. What does that even mean here? It lands out of place, random, disconnected from the mess actually unfolding. Something about the energy is off, and if you're paying attention, it's impossible to ignore. Meanwhile, Papoose looks completely entertained. Every reaction, every shift in energy tells a story. The difference is glaring. The moment the conversation turns to what 50 Cent said about Remy Ma, his so-called past relationship, who is still very much his wife, something snaps. He stiffens, goes quiet, serious, almost tense. That's the line he refuses to cross. But then the topic flips to the memes about Claressa Shields. Suddenly he's laughing, grinning, treating it all like a game, like pure entertainment. That contrast is deafening. Remy Ma is a problem. Claressa Shields is a show. That difference speaks louder than any words. Even thinking back to the diss track, Agent Proctor, where he mentioned Remy Ma with heat and fire, that energy was raw, intense. Now, in this interview, he's selectively serious, selectively playful, choosing when to engage and when to dismiss it all with a laugh. People notice that shift immediately. And that raises a burning question. If this interview doesn't reveal what Papoose truly feels, then what possibly could? Because he's not fully stepping up, not openly defending, not firmly standing his ground, and that absence is impossible to ignore. "This is my partner," he never says. That unwavering, solid support people expect, completely missing. The inconsistency in his energy is glaring, and it leaves everyone wondering, just how serious is Papoose about Claressa Shields and all that this chaos entails? The words aren't coming, but the silence screams louder than anything he could say. At the end of the day, it feels like he was chasing a moment, a chance to go head-to-head with 50 Cent, riding the old tension tied to Remy Ma. Strip away all the mixed signals, the reactions, the performative energy, and it all points back to that single truth. That's the pulse beneath the drama, the reason everything has spiraled this way. And that right there closes out part one. Even this first breakdown alone exposes more than enough. So dive in, watch the full video, share your thoughts, and don't hold back. Tell the world what you really think is happening behind